With the ever-growing complexity of human systems in the 21st century, there seems to be an ever-emergent desire to restructure traditional economic practices for the benefit of greater humanity and the environment and ecology. Hundreds of innovations are sprouting around the world through unconventional economic and financial models. The new emergent models and economic thinking is reverting back to our holistic ways of being and primarily take inspiration from the credit unions and cooperative movements from the 19th century, which has economic democracy at its roots. There is a growing awareness and an urge for something different, albeit with all the economic crises and downturn predicted for the global economy in the year 2023. It is a very interesting time in the history where people are beginning to see the old system isn't working, not only economically and ecologically, but for humanity as well. It is also a time in the history of our world that people are looking back and within to revive the indigenous models and practices as alternatives. As well as there's a growing awareness to reevaluate moral ethics and good practices, one of which is cooperation as opposed to competition, which was at the core of oikonomia. The new economic thinking now sees cooperation not as an ethical, good hearted thing to do, but rather something people need to do in times of crises for humanity to sustain itself. It was at the time of writing my thesis that I was guided by the spirit of solidarity as the primordially innate nature of human interconnectedness, codependency, and relationality, or what I intuited as our soul to soul connection. In essence, it is something akin to an auto reciprocal response, so intrinsic to our human nature and societal fabric. So, what is that auto response? The more I contemplated on it, the more it became a spiritual response to me. Most of all, this impulse is essentially triggered in times of need or neediness, which kind of outrules the historic economic idea that Adam Smith presumed that all our actions stem from self interest and the world turns because of financial gains. We conceived Homo economicus, that is, the management of the household, and then built a logical model of the world around that conception, and have ever since been trying to either live up or live down, really, to that self image that economy is to support, or capitalism is the answer. We have been striving to make our behaviors fit a simple model rather than just rather than adjusting our models to a new comprehension of our complex behavior. And effectively, a subplot of our broader mind culture or co-evolution has been the mind market co-evolution, in which human minds have made markets and have shaped their minds around markets. On a spiritual level, secular societies' withdrawal from religion has forced us to withdraw from the acts of congregational ritual and moral reflection that we used to perform all these rituals together, and all of which in different ways cultivated acts of solidarity, a soul to soul connection. Solidarity economy is a subdiscipline of integral economics developed by Ronnie Lessem and Alexander Schieffer, co-founders of integral development theory and practice, and their research associates from around the world. Their integral approach provides a holistic lens to understand and consciously evolve human systems. It serves to address imbalances within individual organization, community, and or a society, but also within specific fields such as economics, enterprise, or human development. The integral and transcultural approach postulated by Lessem and Schieffer enables us to provide sufficient space for the rich diversity of innovative economic theory from all the four integral realms, which is South, East, North, and West, as opposed to a very hegemonic neoliberal Western perspective to economics and finance. As well as this, it builds on a society's moral core, which can now help us to gradually rebuild our economies in their local flavor and culture, as well as a global economic system. Solidarity economy thus adds a new dimension to the spectrum of alternative economic thinking and practices around the world. For example, associative economics, civil economy, or developmental economy, wherein the associative impulse, as professed by Austrian philosopher and social thinker Rudolf Steiner in 1922, emphasizes the development of conscious coordination of producers, distributors, and consumers instead of by the invisible hand of the blind market capitalist economics and instead of by the government socialist economics. Of late, the Social and Solidarity Economy, or SSE, has also been providing an alternative way of promoting the age old mantra that people are stronger together by cooperation as opposed to competition. SSE has become an increasingly important part of social and third sector through initiatives like fair trade, social enterprise, ethical banks, credit unions, and cooperatives. It is considered transformative because it values people's needs and abilities by contributing profits and by reinvesting for more sustainable outcomes. Solidarity economy, however, carves a new pathway amidst all the economic thinking prevalent in our worlds at large. It intends to raise the collective human consciousness by redefining the innate human instinct or survival instinct in parallel to and embedded in economic activities. By this, we are insinuating the benevolent tendencies that are implicitly present in many communities and also most of Islamic societies as the perfection of their faith. Whereas, on the one hand, we see the social welfare model coming out of the Catholic social teachings. Most Islamic countries uh, or Muslim communities equate this by giving a lot of charity or sadaqah to purify their wealth, yet failing to reconcile the middle path, that is, adopting the path prescribed by their holy books and taught by the prophets and saints. Notwithstanding, our solidarity impulse in itself is informed by the Islamic social teachings, but it remains a universal calling for human survival and sustenance and also subsistence. It is informed and inspired by Maqasid al-Sharia, the objectives of Sharia, which is the word of God, which frames the whole economic activity around human and ecological well-being and creation of a just society as its sole purpose and focus. And how can we achieve this? The focus is basically not just on cooperation or fraternity, but on the brotherhood of men and also women. And this is the new calling for human survival on this earth, that we can only survive by being benevolent and compassionate towards each other